Senator Crenshaw for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. Saw you were in my district recently for an Ironman in the Woodlands. You might be asked for a lot of commitments today. Maybe one I'll ask of you is to get a good workout in with me at one point. I have a couple issues I care about, a few actually, direct primary care being one of them. So I'd like to start with that. I think we need direct primary care for a lot of reasons, and I've expressed those reasons on this committee many times. It's an affordable, flat fee for full access to your primary care physician of your choice, and I believe it's the future model for primary care. But for some reason, it's barely touched Medicaid, and that's a problem I've tried to fix. We have a bipartisan bill that has done that, the Medicaid Primary Care Improvement Act. It would make it clear in federal law that states could reimburse direct primary care providers directly. It passed the House last year, but never made it through the Senate, as many good things do not. I just would like to ask you, will you work with us and with CMS to issue guidance or maybe launch a pilot program allowing state Medicaid programs to integrate direct primary care models into their benefit design?
Yes, and in fact, Congressman Crenshaw, it was in there was a direct primary care provision in the big beautiful bill that was under the HSA provision. I believe that provision was approved by Congress.
It passed out of this House.
It passed, and then was moved by the Senate.
We are trying to convince the Senate to keep it in.
At some point.
I'm glad with their support, maybe they'll keep it in. That's great to hear. And I appreciate your support on that issue. I want to talk about regenerative medicine also. It's a transformational medicine and therapy. I think you'd agree with this. These aren't hypothetical solutions. They're using the patient's own cells they're autologous cell therapies. They're using the patient's own cells to do some pretty amazing therapies and outcomes for people. As Secretary, what steps might HHS take to modernize that regulatory architecture for regenerative medicine, particularly for cell and tissue therapies that don't neatly fall into existing biologic classifications? And I introduced legislation, which passed the House yesterday, actually, that gives the FDA the opportunity to use the best science to update that policy. Would you work with us on getting that done?
Yeah, absolutely. And I had another roundtable on cell and gene therapy up at FDA headquarters with all of the leaders in that industry. It's something Marty McCary is deeply interested in, Jay Bhattacharya is. We want to keep the United States the hub, the scientific hub for development of cell and gene therapy. It is the medicine of the future, and we're absolutely committed to it.
I appreciate that. Another interest of mine, I think we've had some legislative success as well in these past couple of years, is on the use of psychedelics for assisted therapy for conditions like PTSD, depression, addiction. What steps do you plan on taking to accelerate that domestic research, clinical trial access, and the safe deployment of these kind of therapies for trauma-related disorders?
We are launching clinical trials now on that at FDA. I think there are 11 clinical trials at the VA going on at this point, particularly for our service members, retired service members. It's critically important that we make sure that the science on this is solid, and the preliminary results are very, very encouraging, and it's something that we want to pursue. Marty McCary has told me that we don't want to wait 2 years to get this done. Yeah. These are people who badly need some kind of therapy. Nothing else is working for them. This line of therapeutics has tremendous advantage if given in a clinical setting, and we are working very hard to make sure that happens within 12 months.
That's great to hear. Just to put on your notes as well, the FDA did issued draft guidance on the clinical guidelines for these therapies 2 years ago. Finalizing that, I think, would be helpful for the industry. So they have been forward-leaning, but I think finalizing that would be helpful for the industry. I'm running out of time, but maybe for the record, you could help us with this. In my bill, in Section 723 of the FY24 NDAA, that's where we got the money and the mandate for the DoD to do these clinical trials. And part of their own guidance was to work with NIH, and I'd like to figure out how that relationship is looking and what NIH is doing along with the Department of Defense.
Gentlemen's
And
time is
we've brought on personnel to liaison directly with VA. I talk with Doug Collins about it all the time. It's something that both of us are deeply interested in.
All right, well, your gentleman's time has expired. We now recognize